Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Svetlana's Corner. This is my channel. My name is Svetlana. This is a corner, self-explanatory. This is me in a very interesting mood today. Anyway, let's go with it. So, if you're new to this channel, again, welcome. If you're not new, then, well, you asked about a video, and I'm going to do that. In my last video, I had how to find a prison pen pal. And many of you have asked, okay, I found one. How do I write my first letter? So here's some ideas for you, some tips and tricks that we're gonna go through. But before we do that, you know what to do. Click that subscribe button if you're not subscribed. Then ring that little bell so you're notified every time I post a video, because you would have missed this video if you're not notified. And finally, please do me a favor, click like button if you do like the video, leave a comment, leave 5 comments, leave 10 comments. This is your free way of being able to support me, and therefore I can do these videos. I would love that. Thank you so much. See, I'm in a weird mood. Okay, so like I said, you guys were saying, you know what, Svetlana, help. I literally have that in my email with my name, so because I've said my name anyhow. You found your pen pal. There's somebody you want to write to, and how do I send my first letter? Now, I promise you guys that I will go into details on electronic communications, so I'm going to do a video dedicated to each method of electronic communication, one at a time. But in this one, we're going to do your first letter, or your second maybe, but let's focus on the first letter. Snail mail. Now say it with me. Snail mail. Because I have a hard time saying that 3 times fast. Snail mail, snail mail, snail mail. If you've seen how long it takes, sometimes it is snail mail, especially if you are international. And that just means envelopes, handwriting, all that kind of fun stuff. You see my nice little clipboard. Look at the fancy stationery. Don't read my mail, but see this pretty stationery? Now, what I'm going to do is tell you this is a no-go. At all. No-go. No way. So, I do have pen pals that are not in prison. You know, there are people I talk to that are not necessarily just behind bars. Sometimes I do get out of the house too. Anyway, so this is a letter I've been writing, and it's almost done. You can tell I write pretty long letters, but this is a letter I've been writing to somebody who is not in prison, and this is fine. However, there are reasons why this does not go to prison. And for that, I have other paper as well. So let's get into these details. Okay, so now we're talking about this. I'm going to give you one reminder here. There is no such thing as privacy in prison. It is a luxury that inmates don't have, and if you are writing to somebody in prison, you no longer have it either. Congratulations. So all correspondence is checked and monitored, electronic or otherwise. So that is something to keep in mind. Now, we're going to first start with an envelope. I feel like I'm talking to somebody in kindergarten. Here's an envelope, but just trust me on this, okay? So when you're writing to somebody, we're going to start with that envelope. You're going to have to address the envelope, and you're going to write whatever you write that you're going to put into that envelope. So I'm going to show you how letters come from prison. I have 2 here, just as an example. I mean, you know, this is just an example. One is from federal prison. One is from state prison. They look pretty much the same. It's always white envelope. You'll see Forever USA stamps on here. When the guys write their letters, they buy the envelope and they buy the stamps. The prison will tell them how much it's going to cost to send that letter. I don't know how much it costs to send that letter. I could analyze it here, but I'm not going to. But anyway, so they do pay to send that letter. They buy the envelope and the stamps, and they send that letter. And so you'll get them. They're pretty much the same. You'll notice the state and the federal are pretty much the same. It's still Forever USA, and then they're addressed pretty much the same way. So we're going to follow the same format because that's how it works. Make sure that you do go on the website of that prison, of that facility, because they do have different rules. They do have rules of how thick a letter has to be, how many pages you can send, how many photos you can send, size of an envelope. But that's just every prison and every facility, and sometimes every inmate might have different rules. For most of them, I always go with these envelopes because they work for pretty much 99.9% of the time. So always choose a white envelope. So this is not the time when you want to be creative and be great at scrapbooking. I'm not. And this is the time I'm glad I'm not, because it's not useful for me. So everything is going to be on a white envelope. So I've got my notes in front of me, so I won't forget anything. Okay, so I'm reading this. White envelope, no crayons, no glitter, no stickers, anything like that. So I know it's so tempting for whatever holiday it might be. Maybe it's Valentine's Day. You want to put little hearts everywhere or whatever that means, and that's not going to be accepted. It's going to be thrown right in the trash. So remember that just because it's not accepted, it doesn't mean he'll get it and they'll say, you know what, next time, no. No, it's going to be going right in the trash. He'll never even know it arrived. Worst case, he can actually get in trouble for it. I've seen some get pretty severe punishment. They can go in the hole. For those of you who don't know what the hole is, it's the segregated housing unit. It could be called a lot of things, but basically it's a very, very bad place. It's a dark prison within a prison. Really horrible. So you can actually send that inmate in trouble by sending him something he's not supposed to receive. So no funny tricks here. You know, you want that letter to get to them. You want their letter to get to you. You want to have that correspondence going smoothly. This is not the time to test waters. So again, we're going to go with white envelope, no crayons, no glitter, no stickers. So you're going to use a black or blue ink on the envelope and on the paper. Blue or black ink only. Okay, so normal pens. I know I always want to have those cool pens, but no. Blue or black ink, white envelopes, white paper. So, keeping some information private here, because I think some people like their privacy. Imagine that. What you're going to do is you're going to put your information over here, and the way that it follows is I followed the US format, because sometimes in Canada we change it a bit. I know some countries do it a little bit different than Canada does, but for US, I'm going to follow this format. So my name's on the top. I don't know how close you can see it. My name, my address. Now you guys know where I live. If you're going to show up, bring gifts. That's my rule. Or food. I like food. So your name, your address, your city, in my case is a province or state or whatever that may be. Postal code, that's what we have in Canada. We don't have zip code. For all my American friends that are asking, what's my zip code? I don't have one. We have postal code and country. Sometimes I forget that when I'm sending something to a friend in Canada. You don't want to forget that, because I have forgotten that once and it didn't get to United States. So you want to follow that format. So your name, your address, make sure you put the country on the bottom of that. That is your information. It goes into the top. I don't know my right from left. Top left corner. Top left corner. It is a Monday, okay? It's a Monday. Now, for his information, and I'm sorry, I'm going to make this a little bit private, but the first line is his name, in my case, because I'm writing to a male pen pal, but it's the person's name. It's going to go on the first line. And then on the second line, I always put their number. So every U.S. inmate has their Department of Corrections number. That number is theirs. It's theirs alone. It's theirs until they die, and they die with that number. So it's commonly called a DOC number, Department of Corrections number. Sometimes in federal prison, it's called SID number. it doesn't matter what you call it, but it's their inmate number. So you want to make sure you include that. Don't include the number, he won't get the letter, okay? So the number is there, so it's number, whichever. Then there's the address of the facility. So that's their facility. Sometimes there's a facility unit. In this case, there isn't one, but sometimes there is a unit. Then the address, postal code, and United States of America. So congratulations, we've done an envelope. I know, there's art to it. So we're sending a letter by snail mail. Like I said, the cute stationery does not work. What you want to have is your normal paper. Remember school paper? Yeah, same idea. That's what I usually use. I take paper from my kids, or I just buy the paper. It's your normal lined paper. It works best for every prison. Blue or black ink only. Again, no crayons, no glitter, no stickers. I have seen some prisons make an exception. They will accept some drawings, even crayons drawings on the paper when it's from kids, when they know that that inmate has kids. You got to check with the facility. All right, so let me go through some of my points that I got in how to write a snail mail letter. So number one, check guidelines of that facility. I can't stress it enough because every facility can be different. I've run into that a lot. Use plain white ruled paper, blue or black ink, no crayons or glitter. Man, I've repeated that a lot in this video, but okay, here's one. Write on one side of the letter, the paper. Okay, why do I say that? This goes with different prisons. Some get your letter the way that you wrote it. So if you wrote the letter, and I'm going to use this as an example, that person wrote a letter, and it so happens this is a drawing, and I picked the wrong one. Haha. Okay. Whoa, this is a thick letter, but anyway. So there's a letter this person wrote on both sides of it. It's all good. But I can accept that. I can accept both sides. However, not all prisons accept both sides. So you want to find out how letters get to that prison. Actually, this specific person that wrote on both sides in that prison, what they do is they open the envelope, because like I said, there's no such thing as a privacy. So the letter gets opened, your envelope gets thrown in the garbage, and they don't always read it, but they skim through the letter, but they do have the right to read it. Okay, so they do. And then what some states do is they photocopy your letter, and that's what he will get. Whatever you wrote, that original letter is sometimes stored in their filing system for, I think, 30 days. Some prisons just throw them out. Usually they do store it in case something happened, they didn't photocopy them, somebody wants to dispute something, so most of the time they do store it for a bit. But some just throw it out. Anyway, it just depends on that facility. So for this person specifically, I know that they copy the paper, and I've sent him a letter. I worked hard on it. It was 10 pages, front and back. Now, when that prison made copies of it, they only made a copy of the first side, not the second one. And they threw out the rest. So what happened was he got my page 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Great, right? I was impressed. And I can remember what I wrote, so I had to rewrite it trying to remember what I was asking. Anyway, to avoid my mistake, write on one side of the paper only. So do not write on the back, only on the front, until you know that he will accept the entire letter. If the pen pal you're talking to, he can get both sides easily, then yes, you can do that. But if you don't know, just write on the first side only. Do not write on the second one, just as a precaution. From me to you, I've been there, made that mistake. Well, the prison made that mistake, but still, you want everything you put your hard work writing, you want to get there. Okay, what's next? So how many pages? Again, you want to check the rules of that facility because they do have those rules. They do. Usually, for most of them, they want that envelope to be no more than 1/4 inch thick. I don't know what a 1/4 inch thick is. I go by caution. You don't want it to be 30 pages. You don't want it to be, a little strip of paper. I don't know, like this. You're sending it. You're paying for stamps for it. You might as well give them a little bit more, But that's between you and that person, how much you're comfortable in writing. I am the person that writes long letters. I have to restrain myself and keep it to so many pages. For many facilities, they go up to 10 pages. But again, you got to check the guidelines. If you're putting in photos, again, that is your comfort level. If you're comfortable with putting photos of anything, I sometimes put a postcard in there. Again, you got to check the rules if they can receive them or not, what they can receive. But if I'm putting any pictures in there, again, check how many pictures they can receive. This person I'm writing to specifically, it's 10 written pages up to 5 pictures. So that's what I'm putting in here. I'm actually putting 3 pictures, but it's up to 5. All right, so before I talk about the actual letter, a common question I get is photos and what else can I add in the envelope. So photos, this is where your comfort level is, right? I mean, if you're comfortable sending a photo of yourself, send a photo of yourself. Again, remember that whatever you send will be seen by male staff, will be seen by possibly others. So if you're sending a photo of yourself, just do a normal photo of yourself. If you're sending something like a postcard, check that prison allows that because many don't. If you're printing something, like I've done that, here's kind of what my street looks like in winter. I know that's usually okay. Again, you want to check the rules of that facility, that prison, because they're very picky. Most of them are very picky. So with, again, topic of photos, some people are not comfortable sending photos of yourself, and that's totally your call, right? Whatever you feel comfortable. So you need to be clear about your boundaries that you're not comfortable sending photos. I have been uncomfortable sending photos to some, and I'm very clear on that. And there's some that know what I look like, and they have photos and so forth. So that is, like I said, completely your choice, and you need to stick to your choice. Maybe your comfort level will change later, but make sure that you mention that I'm not comfortable adding photos. Most people do want to ask for photos. There is actually a reason for that. I've known somebody who corresponded with somebody and got catfished. I didn't know what catfish means, so I had to look it up. But anyway, the person they were talking to, they thought was, just a female about my age, so forth. It turned out to be some guy who thought he'd have fun and learn about their case and whatever else. So sometimes inmates ask about a photo because they want to know you're real. I've known a few that's why they ask about photos. So some of them are not trying to be pigs or jerks or whatever people have called them. They just don't know if you're real. And I mean, that's a general concern. They have no access to internet. They don't know who you are. So again, make sure that you keep that in mind. We don't always think about what the other person's thinking or feeling. We just assume this is the way it is. But just thinking about that side. But again, your comfort level, make sure you know that. So if you're not comfortable sending photos, say so. You should be respected in what you're comfortable with. Stamps, that's another one. Prisons use stamps, but that's not the same kind of stamps that you will see on the envelope. Their stamps are to buy certain things, to use for electronic messaging, etc. It's not the stamps that you lick and stick on the envelope. So that's a completely different topic, and I can cover what stamps mean separately. Anyway, I have seen actually one video early this morning, where there's a person talking about sending letters to an inmate, and then you just take a couple of stamps and you can just clip them to the letter. Please don't do that. Do not do that. Number one, they're not allowed to receive stamps like this. They're not allowed to. that will be at best thrown out. But a paper clip, not only is that not allowed, I mean, think about paper clip can be a weapon. You can get him in so much trouble, it's not even funny. Do not do that to anybody. No metal, no paper clips. I mean, I'm not talking about the fact that your letter's going through a metal detector. It's not. I think it's not. It goes through a little slot. But anyway, do not send anything that is contraband, meaning illegal. So no paper clips, no weapons, nothing that can be a weapon, no drugs in the letter. And actually, a little bit of a funny story. I didn't know this. So my first letter went on this kind of stationery. You could probably see it. It's just, I thought it was cute. It looks like old kind of fashion paper. Anyway, the prison knew me well enough as a person, but I've never sent snail mail before. So they actually had to scan this letter thinking there might be drugs imprinted into the paper. So it took about 3 months before that person got their letter. Now, we did have electronic communication. I didn't know the guards well. It wasn't an issue about me or him, but it was a funny story. Okay, it's funny now. At that time, I kind of panicked, going, I don't use drugs. I would never send drugs. Anyway, yeah, you can't send stationery. We covered that. So do not send anything that is not legal at all. So just plain paper works. Like I said, photos are one thing, but do not send stamps. Do not send paper clips, anything like that. You can look up all those directions out there. I've looked at Christmas cards and I couldn't send any because they have to be one layer, as they call them, one level. So you know those cards that open up or have a little bit of a pop-up, those are not accepted in most facilities. So yeah, the rules are pretty strict. I just stick to paper, pen, easy enough. All right, so the next question was, what do I say? I don't. I am the person that can babble for a while, and I do this on paper too. I can go on a tangent, I can babble for a while like I'm doing now, and nobody stops me. Anyway, until somebody does, I go on and on and on. So I can write for many, many pages. So if you're not sure what to say, start somewhere. You know, hi, introduce yourself, right? So my main advice, you guys, is don't overthink it. I mean, you're getting to know somebody, you don't know them yet, they don't know you. Don't overthinking, just be yourself. If you want them to know who you are, be yourself. So keep things real, keep things simple. If you're a person who likes to be a little bit funny, be a little bit funny. If you don't like jokes or something like that, don't push yourself to put them in there. It just doesn't sound like you, and it's not going to be you. So, you know, if you're a person who doesn't write a 20-page letter like I would, you know, you don't write a 10-page letter, don't send a 10-page letter. But if this is your first letter, if it is, don't do a 10-page letter anyway. I mean, maybe that person might not be able to respond, and those reasons I've covered in my last video. So watch my last video if you want to know why some inmates may not write back, may not respond. But if this is your first letter, you don't need to do 10 pages. 1 or 2 pages is enough, right? I mean, this is your introduction. I would just say don't do 3 lines and you're done. I mean, give them a little bit of something. You want them to read something. Also, they're writing back. So they need something to go on, you know, something to respond to. Give them something that they can respond to. By the way, here's a little hint. If you don't know, Google is our best friend these days. I mean, who doesn't love internet? So Google some questions like how to know somebody, how to get to know someone. I actually Googled that, how to get to know someone. There's so many pages, so many. How to get to know a man, how to get to know a woman, how to get to know a pen pal. There's so many, 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 many pages. You can find a lot of questions. So just Google some questions. If you're not sure what to say, Google something that you can ask them. I don't know, your favorite flower. To this day, I've never used that, but people do. Anyway, everybody's different. See, that's not an authentic me. I'm not the person that wants to know about somebody's favorite flower. But yeah, just be yourself. One thing is, and I'm always tempted to ask about the deeper questions. I want to ask the details of their crime. I want to know that. You know what? Not everybody's comfortable talking to a complete stranger about the most personal, most in-depth, probably the hardest day of their lives. It's just not something that comes easily to most people when they don't know who you are. They don't know anything about you. They're not ready to open up. I mean, if somebody asks me about the most personal thing I have, I'm going to say none of your business. I'm a very direct person, in case nobody noticed that. So maybe don't go into something that deep. I would. That's who I am. But, not in the first letter. Maybe wait to see how that goes. In my case, most people bring it up, but I don't do it in the first letter as much as I'd like to. I don't. Just stick to kind of an introductory one. So here's just some ideas. I did Google this, by the way, and it said guidelines for your first letter. So you can find everything on Google. So guidelines. Number one, where you got their info. They don't know where you found them from. So, tell them, you know what, I got your info on Facebook. I got your info from Writer Prisoner website. I got your info out of thin air. I stood outside and screamed your name and it popped up. Something. Kind of how you found them. Maybe a little bit of why you chose them. Like if you're looking at prison website, there's thousands and thousands of photos, inmates on there. Why them? Why did you choose them? Oh, I saw a picture of you with a dog. I love dogs. It kind of caught my attention. Something like that. It's very simple, but it tells them there's a reason you picked them, right? So number two, be clear what you're looking for. To me, this is actually very important. I would put this as number one, highlight big time. Be clear what you're looking for. So are you looking for a friendship pen pal, platonic? Are you looking for something that may lead to a relationship? Are you looking for somebody in terms of religious prayer partners? There's many people who are looking for somebody to share their religious quotes, beliefs with. Only they do not want to talk about their day. They do not want to talk about their lives. They are only looking at that direction. So you want to make sure you include that in there, what you are looking for. And again, if you're not looking for more than a friendship, be clear right at this point, because it is easy for those friendships to develop into relationships. So make sure that that pen pal you're writing to knows this is not something you're looking for, or if it is. How often you want to write, this is something I would include in there too. Some people write once every few months. That's their comfort level. Some do it every week. I usually have a letter started before I even receive one. So I'm one of those people that loves to write letters, electronic or handwritten letters. I love them. So be clear that I love to write lots. I don't like to write often. I like to write this often, because you want to know that you're on the same level as they are. They will tell you when they are comfortable at writing. It may be a cost issue for them too. This is something you want to be clear about, and you want to know about them. Number three, again, why you're writing to them. Are you just looking for a pen pal? Like I said, it's a little repetitive, but it's important. Maybe you saw something in their profile that you were interested in. Like for me, I would ask something specific that I saw. Anyway, something like that. Maybe you just want to get to know people. Maybe there's no reason other than that, but this is your kind of introduction as to why you're writing to a person. Number four, choose something to describe yourself. Your hobbies, your interests, etc. Again, that person has to respond to something, so you want them to know a little bit about yourself. The tip that they give is pick 3 things about yourself and something that you like. I don't necessarily follow that, but let's say if I did, I would say something like, I'm a confident, positive, empathetic person. I like to discuss prison reforms. That's me. That's 3 things that I think I am. It's something I like to discuss this because that is my passion. That's why I'm on this journey to begin with. That's my interest. You can pick anything. that gets them to know a little bit, like the basics about you. That's a guideline I saw online. You can go a lot further than that, obviously, but that's a general idea. I actually kind of like that. 3 things about yourself, you know, that describes you, and something like a hobby or interest. And then finally, the ending. It does not need to be elaborate. You know, I mean, I've seen people do this. Sincerely, truly, until we meet, or write again. Come on. By the time I finish 10 pages, I got a cramp in my arm. I'm not writing all that out. I just put my name. However, as I do that, as I say this, I just remembered something. Your address. Always, always the address. Now, why am I saying this? Remember we talked about how we put our address on the envelope? Okay, so again, to repeat that, when the prison receives the letter, the envelope most of the time does not get to the inmate. Some exceptions apply. If you are writing to someone who will get the envelope, you're lucky. Most of the inmates I talk to, they don't get the envelope. So the prison will rip this open, they'll check what's in the envelope gets tossed. So when he gets your letter, he's going to get the letter, but he can't respond to it because he doesn't have your address. All he has at this point is your name. In my case, just the first name. So he's going to be looking for Svetlana somewhere in Canada. Yeah, okay, he's not going to find you. So you might find out that that person never writes back to you for that reason. They don't know where to write. So when you finish that letter, or it doesn't have to be when you finish it, but put your information somewhere in that letter. You can do it in the beginning, you can do it in the middle. I usually do it at the end. I mean, if you've been talking to somebody on a regular basis, they've probably memorized your address. The person I'm writing to, we usually write at least once a week. They know my address. He's memorized my address. But if this is your first letter or first few letters or just in general, it's always a good idea to make sure that your address is somewhere on that letter. So again, you do whatever you wrote on the envelope, your first name, your last name, your address. Make sure that your information is on that letter because he likely does not get that envelope, or he or she likely does not get that envelope. So make sure they have the address that they can write back to. Just a little tip that you learn the hard way, or you're wondering why that person could not write to you. Again, there's no access to internet in prison. They can't look you up. So if you don't put your information there, they can't respond to it. Very important to know. So again, something I've said in my last letter, I've been talking a lot. Something I've said in my last video, I'm going to repeat in this one. Please do not ghost a person. This is something I get to hear from inmates a lot. They write to somebody for a long time, whether it's electronic or snail mail, doesn't matter in this case. They write to somebody, things are going well, and suddenly they just don't hear from that person. They don't know why. And sometimes that person, when I talk to them, they just say, oh, I changed my mind. I don't want to be a pen pal anymore. It's not personal. That male or female did nothing wrong. But they don't know that. They're waiting for something that's not coming. So please don't be that person. Do not ghost somebody. If you don't want to write to them anymore, maybe they did something. Tell them. Maybe they didn't do something. You just changed your mind. Tell them. Communication. The whole point of pen pals, friendship, is communication. You can't do anything without communication. So let's communicate. Let's let that person know. Hey, I changed my mind about doing pen pal thing. I wish you the best. It doesn't have to be anything big, but be nice. You know, respect, courtesy, manners, I don't know. Those to me seem simple, but I've heard from quite a few guys that just don't know what they did. And again, just keeping in mind that the person you're writing to, you don't know them, they don't know you. Sometimes things are kind of awkward in the beginning, but anyway, you might find that you find this amazing person. You might find somebody you don't click with. It's okay. It's all good. So this is kind of everything I wanted to mention about writing your first letter to an inmate. So for those of you that had questions about it, I hope I covered all the aspects of it. If you want to not put your address and use a P.O. box, you're welcome to. That is something, again, I covered in my last video, privacy and things like that. I use my home address. I've never had any issues with it, but that is not something I'm going to cover here because I've already done that. And well, you get to watch my last video to see that. But basically what I wanted to do is just to cover how to do your first letter and your first envelope and your envelope from now on, because it's always going to be kind of the same idea. So again, just make sure it is following all the protocols, guidelines, rules, laws. Be yourself. Enjoy, because that's the whole point of it, is to enjoy the experience. Whatever your reason is for writing to that person, enjoy the experience. So that is all I got here today. I know you guys are asking me about electronic communication, because let's face it, snail mail is snail speed. So in my next videos, I will cover electronic communication. There's so many of them, so I will cover them separately. An entire video for JPay, an entire video for core links, an entire video for Securus, whatever that may be, let me know. I'll cover that one at a time. So you gotta have to watch those. But this one is just about your first letter by snail mail. I hope you enjoyed it. And I keep waving this around too many times. I'm gonna hurt myself, but I'm clumsy. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up, leave some comments, give me some love here. That would be great. I hope you have a good day. And if there's anything you want me to cover, please let me know and I will do that in my upcoming video. I hope you all have a good day. Bye.